Hi guys, we're going to keep reading the Book of Three. We're on to Chapter 3, Gurgi. By the time Taryn woke up, Gwydion had already saddled Mellingar. The cloak that Taryn had slept on was damp with the dew. Every joint ached from his night on the hard ground. With Gwydion's urging, Taryn stumbled towards the horse, a white blur in the grey-pink dawn. Gwydion hauled Taryn into the saddle behind him and spoke a quiet command. The white steed moved quickly into the rising mist. Gwydion was seeking the spot where Taryn had last seen Henwin, but long before they had reached it, he reined up Mellingar and dismounted. As Taryn watched, Gwydion knelt and sighted along the turf. "Luck is with us," he said. "I think we have struck her trail." Gwydion pointed to a faint circle of trampled grass. "Here she slept not too long ago." He strode a few paces forward, scanning every broken twig and blade of grass. Despite Taryn's disappointment at finding the Lord Gwydion dressed in a coarse jacket and mud-spattered boots, he followed the man with growing admiration. Nothing, Taryn saw, escaped Gwydion's eyes. Like a lean grey wolf, he moved silently and easily. A little way on, Gwydion stopped and raised his shaggy head and narrowed his eyes toward a distant ridge. "The trail is not clear," he said, frowning. "I can only guess where she might have gone down the slope." "With all this forest to run in," Taryn queried, "how can we begin to search? She might have gone anywhere in Prydain." "Not quite," answered Gwydion. "I may not know where she went, but I can be sure where she did not go." He pulled out a hunting knife from his belt. "Here, I will show you." Gwydion knelt and quickly traced lines in the earth. "These are the Eagle Mountains," he said, with a touch of longing in his voice. "In my own land of the north. Here the great Avron flows. See how it turns west before reaching the sea. We may have to cross it before our search ends. This is the river Ystrad. It leads north to Caer Dothel. But see here," Gwydion went on, pointing to the left of the line he had drawn for the river Ystrad. "This is Mount Dragon, in the domain of Iran. Henwin would shun this above all. She was too long a captive in Anuvin. She would never venture near it." "Henwin was in Anuvin?" Taryn asked with surprise. "But how?" "Long ago," said Gwydion, "Henwin lived among a race of men. She belonged to a farmer who had no idea at all of her powers, so she might have spent her days as an ordinary pig. But Iran knew her to be far from ordinary, of such value that he himself rode out of Anuvin and seized her. What dire things happened when she was prisoner of Iran, it is better not to speak of them." "Poor Hen," Taryn said. "It must have been terrible for her. But how did she escape?" "She did not escape," said Gwydion. "She was rescued. A warrior went alone into the depths of Anuvin and brought her back safely." "That was a brave deed," Taryn cried. "I wish that I—" "Bards of the North still sing of it," said Gwydion. "His name shall never be forgotten." "Who was it?" Taryn demanded. Gwydion looked at him closely. "Do you not know?" he asked. "Dalwyn has neglected your education. It was Cole," he said. "Cole, son of Caufler." "Cole!" Taryn cried. "Not the same?" "The same," said Gwydion. "But," Taryn stammered, "Cole? A hero? But he is so bald." Gwydion laughed and shook his head. "Assistant pig keeper," he said, "you have curious notions about heroes. I have never known one's courage to be judged by the length of a man's hair, or, for that matter, whether he have any hair at all." Crestfallen, Taryn peered at Gwydion's map and said no more. "Here," continued Gwydion, "not far from Anuvin lies Spiral Castle. This, too, Henwin would avoid at all cost. It is the abode of Queen Ashran. She is as dangerous as Iran himself, as evil as she is beautiful. There are secrets concerning Ashran which are better left untold." "I'm sure," Gwydion went on, "that Henwin would not go towards Anuvin or Spiral Castle. From what little I can see, she has run straight ahead. Quickly now, we shall try to pick up her trail." Gwydion turned Mellingar towards the ridge, and they reached the bottom of the slope. Taryn heard the waters of the great Avron rushing like the wind in a summer storm. "We must go again on foot," Gwydion said. Her tracks may show somewhere along here, so we had best move carefully." Stay close behind me, he ordered. If you start dashing ahead, and you seem to have the tendency, you will trample out any signs she may have left. Obediently, Taran walked a few paces behind. Gwydion made no more than the sound of a shadow of a bird, and Melangar herself stepped quietly, hardly a twig snapped under her hoofs. Try as he would, Taran could not go as silently. The more careful he attempted to be, the louder the leaves rattled and crackled. Wherever he put his foot, there seemed to be a hole or a spiteful branch to trip him up. Even Melangar turned and gave him a reproachful look. So Taran grew so absorbed in not making noise that he soon lagged far behind Gwydion. On the slope, Taran believed he could make out something round and white. He yearned to be the first one to find Henwin, so he turned aside and clambered through the weeds, to discover nothing more than a boulder. Disappointed, Taran hastened to catch up with Gwydion. Overhead the branches rustled. He stopped and looked up, and something heavily fell to the ground behind him. Two hairy, powerful arms locked around his throat. Whatever had seized him made barking and snorting noises. Taran forced out a cry for help as he struggled with his unseen opponent, twisting and flailing his legs and throwing himself from one side to the other. Suddenly, he could breathe again. A shape sailed over his head and crashed against a tree trunk. Taran dropped to the ground and began rubbing his neck. Gwydion stood beside him. Sprawled under the tree was the strangest creature that Taran had ever seen. He could not be sure whether it was animal or human. He decided it was both. Its hair was so matted and covered in leaves that it looked like an owl's nest in need of house cleaning. It had long, skinny, woolly arms and a pair of feet as flexible and grimy as its hands. Gwydion watched the creature with a look of severity and annoyance. So it is you, he said. I ordered you not to hinder me or anyone under my protection. At this the creature set up a loud and piteous whining. It rolled its eyes and beat the ground with its palms. It is only Gurgi, said Gwydion. He is always lurking about one place or another. If he is not half as ferocious as he looks, nor a quarter as fierce as he would like to be, more of a nuisance than anything else. Somehow he managed to see most of what happens, and he might be able to help us. Taran had just begun to catch his breath when he was covered with Gurgi's shedding hair, in addition to the distressing odor of wet wolfhounds. "Oh, mighty prince," the creature wailed, "Gurgi is sorry, and now he will be smacked on his poor tender head by the strong hands of his great lord, with fearsome smackings. Yes, yes, that is always the way of it with poor Gurgi, but what an honor to be smacked by the greatest of warriors." "I have no intention of smacking your poor tender head," said Gwydion, "but I might change my mind if you do not leave off with all that whining and sniveling." "Yes, powerful lord," Gurgi cried. "See how he rapidly obeys, and instantly." He began to crawl about on hands and knees with great agility. Had Gurgi owned a tail, Taran would have been sure he wagged it frantically. "Then," Gurgi pleaded, "the two strengthful heroes will give Gurgi something to eat. Oh, joyous crunchings and munchings." "Afterward," said Gwydion, "when you have answered our questions." "Oh, afterward," cried Gurgi. "Poor Gurgi can wait long, long for his munchings and crunchings. Many years from now, when the great princes revolve in their halls, what feastings! They will remember hungry, wretched Gurgi waiting for them." "How long you wait for your crunchings and munchings," Gwydion said, "depends on how quickly you tell us what we want to know. Have you seen a white pig this morning?" A crafty look gleamed in Gurgi's close-set little eyes. "For the seeking of the piggy there were many great lords in the forest, riding with frightening shouts. They would not be cruel to a starving Gurgi. Oh no, they would feed him. They would have your head off your shoulders before you could think twice of it," Gwydion said. "Did one of them wear an antlered mask?" "Yes, yes," Gurgi cried. "With great horns you will save miserable Gurgi from hurtful choppings." He set about a long and dreadful howling. "I am losing patience with you," warned Gwydion. "Where is the pig?" "Gurgi hears these mighty warriors," the creature went on. Oh, yes, with careful listenings from the trees. Gurgi is so quiet and clever, and no one cares about him. But he listens. These great warriors say they have gone to a certain place, but the great fire turns them away. They are not pleased. They still seek Piggy with outcries and horses. Gurgi, Gwydion said firmly, where is the pig? The piggy? Oh, terrible hunger pinches. Gurgi cannot remember. Was there a piggy? Gurgi is fainting and falling into the bushes. His poor tender head is full of air from his empty belly. Taran could no longer control his patience. Where is Henwin, you silly hairy thing? He burst out. Tell us straight off. After the way you jumped on me, you deserve to have your head smacked. With a moan, Gurgi rolled over onto his back and covered his face with his arms. Gwydion turned severely to Taran. Had you followed my orders, you would not have been jumped on. Leave him to me. Do not make him any more frightened than he is. Gwydion looked down at Gurgi. Very well, he asked calmly. Where is she? Oh, fearful wrath, Gurgi snuffled. A piggy has gone across the waters with swimmings and splashings. He sat upright and waved a woolly arm towards the great Avron. If you are lying to me, said Gwydion, I shall soon find out. Then I will surely come back with wrath. Crunchings and munchings now, mighty prince, asked Gurgi in a high and tiny whimper. As I promised you, said Gwydion. Gurgi wants the smaller one for munchings, the creature said, with a beady glance at Taran. No, you do not, Gwydion said. He is an assistant pig keeper, and he would disagree with you violently. He unbuckled the saddle-bag and pulled out a few strips of dried meat, which he tossed to Gurgi. Be off now. Remember, I want no mischief from you. Gurgi snatched up the food and thrust it between his teeth and scuttled up a tree trunk, leaping from tree to tree until he was out of sight. What a disgusting beast, said Taran. What a nasty, vicious... Oh, he's not that bad at heart, Gwydion answered. He would love to be wicked and terrifying, though he cannot manage it. He feels sorry for himself, and it is hard not to be angry with him, but there is no use in doing so. Was he telling the truth about Henwin? Asked Taran. I think he was, said Gwydion. It is as I feared. The Horned King has ridden to Caer Dallben. He burned it, Taran cried. Until now he had paid little mind to his home. The thought of the white cottage in flames, his memory of Dallben's beard, the heroic Cole's bald head touched him all at once. Dallben and Cole are in peril. Surely not, said Gwydion. Dallben is an old fox, and a beetle could not creep into Caer Dallben without his knowledge. No, I am certain the fire was something Dallben arranged for the unexpected visitors. Henwin is the one in greatest peril. Our quest grows ever more urgent, Gwydion hastily continued. The Horned King knows she's missing. He will pursue her. Then, Taran cried, we must find her before he does. Assistant pig keeper, said Gwydion. That has been, so far, your only sensible suggestion. And that is the end of chapter 3. We'll come back next time for chapter 4. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you enjoyed Gurgi. I used to just follow my siblings around. Be like, munchings and crunchings and crunchings and munchings, Becca once. I annoyed them so much. But it's a fond memory. So everything about this book just reminds me of my childhood. It's such a great read. Lunar Flam. Can't wait to introduce you guys to that. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Until then, stay happy and stay safe. Goodbye, guys.